Hello and welcome to 365 Days Towards Racial Change. My name is Tomlins Nyback, and we're at day 115, moving right along. A couple things, just so you know, we'll do our best to keep up with current events and news. I wish we had more good news, and that good news was interesting, that good news dominated um, our lives and whatnot, but man is the only, human beings are just the only creature on the planet given to senseless violence, torture, punishment, uh, domination, and that's the best we could do. I'm a bit of an astronomer. I kind of believe in life out there, but it's a big space, so we don't interact with that maybe as often as we like or no. But the point is, it'd be interesting if a benevolent race came to the earth and saw this foolishness. A young boy is just discovered, and his parents are charged with his murder. One of the men responsible for the 1998 dragging death of a Texas black man gets lethal injection. Got it yesterday. You're seeing this today. I'm making some of these videos ahead. So he's going to be executed April 24th. That's yesterday. What I'm saying is just too much. It's too much. It's too much. I wish I have a relationship with God, more the evangelical vein. Believe in the second coming and some of the other bullet points of knowing Jesus and things like that. And I'm actually going through a portion of I have this devotional and going through Revelations right now. It's a New Testament devotional, going through Revelation, thinking about some of the great events that Christians expect to happen to make the world right, and it's not even that's not all a pretty picture, but it signals the coming of a world, an altruistic, benevolent world, peaceful world. Ultimately, yeah. We got a long way to go. If you're a Trekkie, then you're familiar with a movie called The Undiscovered Country, and one of the Klingons, idealistic Klingon leader, is sitting around with his humans, and there's the tension in the room, and he goes, we've got a long way to go, long way to go. So we're here with this project, 365 Days. We want to look at black issues, the ups and downs, white issues, the impacts, the history, the economics, following the money, all these things. Two thoughts primarily come to concern me. They may not come out explicitly as we may want, but they do bear some thought. They are, in a way, what guides me along this project. First thought has two parts. First part is are the black people, especially of America, descended from slaves, perpetuating a slavery attitude, passivity, falling into marginalization, living life with little resistance to white power and entitlement. And the second thought is, does white empowerment, entitlement, expectation of favor and privilege get passed along in the same way, or environmental pressures enabling white thought. As it talked about around the white dinner table, is it a real thing that I'm even talking about? The second thought is for financial literacy. Blacks, we're actually after, if you're following this argument and some of what blacks want, as far as reparations and things like that, we want tangible things. But I'm starting to see that we need to understand the financial language that goes along with that. White people are light years ahead of us, and now that I've started to delve into some of those circles as far as financial literacy, I've queried my white friends about that, real estate, stock market, income, business structures, and they know a lot. I've never had these kind of conversations with any black person ever. And consequently, I move in white circles, and I have a white mentor, financial mentor. I've drafted him, and he's fully willing to talk to me, so we get together about every month. So those are some of the things that are the guiding lights. They may not be explicit. I don't hammer those issues every day here, but it does come out in the introduction, and you can reflect on that and see how that may tie in to the daily argument, whatever the discussion is that day. I'm motivated by a man named Dr. Claude Anderson. Once I started reading looking at his videos, reading his material, forget about it. I blew through 3 of his written works, and we reference them pretty heavily here. We're going through a different series right now about the signers of the Declaration of Independence, but we're going to get right back to his work. The first book I read was A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. Amazing facts he has in that book. Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice, and Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America, Powernomics. You can find Dr. Anderson at powernomics.com, and the Heritage Institute in Washington, D.C. That's actual physical space. And we also take a fictional look at slave life in America. Harriet Beecher Stowe's phenomenal work, Uncle Tom's Cabin. I'm almost finished reading that book. Interesting twists and turns, plots and schemes, but we look at stereotypes, blackface, how some of the ways slaves are treated, the dominance of white society. Those things are really. There's an evangelical message in there as well. So we take a chapter every once in a while. We're going to speed that up a little bit because I'm going back to school. I'll finish my degree. You got it here on video. If I don't get my degree, you can call me on it. All right. Behind me, you see hashtag #US2s, kind of black women there, discourse of getting support for issues. It's almost a response to the hashtag #MeToo movement. Black women seem to feel the need to separate, to clarify their message here, there. Interesting. Women are not on the same page or along the color lines. I've done a little bit of research and commentary on that. Check out Blog Enough, BLAGGENUF, kind of a black Facebook. If you found me here on YouTube, then you are technologically and informationally literate, and you can find your favorite. Do your own research. I encourage you to not let it all be electronic here. Pick up a written book, even that can be subject. But hold something in your hands and then read it. Put your phone down for a little bit. And do what us old-fashioned people do, read a book. not on your electronic device. Okay. Day 115, here we go. We're still going through our series of signers of the Declaration of Independence. Almost done here. We're working on the T's. Once we hit the W's, we'll be at the home stretch. Thanks for hanging in there with me. I think this is important. We want to see, I want to see who these guys were, what their feelings were, what their relationship with God, economic situation. We get a cross section. You got your superstars and wealthy people. They all carried a sense of wealth and influence. You don't find your major politician making international decision, scraping on the ground, picking potatoes, and then showing up to a gathering in his soiled clothes. These politicians are in a place of position, which is interesting. We're going to talk about a guy that's coming from lowly means and rose up the ranks, the first and only guy, signer of the Declaration of Independence. But first, we're going to talk to a gentleman, Representative of Maryland, Thomas Stone. Not a whole lot of press on him. We're coming out of Wikipedia for our resource. Not a bad resource, a great start there. Just letting you know I'm not reading big biographies down at the library or anything like that. And I'm actually kind of glad that his, the text on him was very brief because it's something I've been missing with the Maryland delegates and representatives. That gives, we got some space to talk about here. I want you to remember way back, and I'm sure I've mentioned it more than once now, that Maryland, I consider Maryland one of the crucibles, one of the nurseries of the black experiment, marginalization. And we go back to we'll get to Mr. Stone here in a minute, but we'll go back to 1638, where Maryland made an edict that said that blacks will not share the fruit of white folks. Now, when you do that, you create a welfare state for that specific group of people. They can't hide; they're all black. It's not like talking about any other groups who have to come out or have to really disclose who they are. Maryland said black people will not enjoy the fruits of white people. Now, so white people they own everything. They got control of the land, resources, and wealth, and the blacks need to go to them, reach out to them for resources, work just to get enough to scratch on by. Maybe have a little space where they can grow a garden, have some animals, but even that situation had its own level of oppression. 25 years later, Maryland came out and said explicitly blacks will be slaves for life. Just a wholesale land grab, total domination of these people. Now, they're already, like I said, in the welfare state. I'm sure they worked and whatever, but they depended on white folks to live, breathe, eat, interact with the land, and they were probably locked in. You probably didn't go far away. They didn't leave when they couldn't. Went back in 1638 when the edict came down about not enjoying the same rights, privileges, wealth of white folks. They obviously didn't leave because there were blacks still in that space for them to carry an edict or further a law to say that blacks would further be slaves. If it was all white people, there's no need for that law. So black people, I'm guessing, were locked in there in that Maryland area. I'm sure I imagine there were a lot of devices and manipulations to keep the blacks there keep them around, doing the menial labor, the less desirable work, the harder work of the land. So this is where Thomas Stone is from. He grew up where he lived, born 1743, died 1787. His brothers were very active in politics as well. One brother served in the military during the war. They were plantation owners. So it was just natural for them. His Episcopal life had no big conflict with him. Growing up in a slave, you don't find too many. I don't know where we are in the tally as far as abolitionists or men who were dissenters of slavery who wanted to do right by the black folks in the nation. But you're not going to find many Southerners going out of their way to put blacks in a position of, of freedom, essentially. No surprise there. Episcopal, okay, kind of it's a break with the Church of England, but they have a bishop there. And he signed, he was already a wealthy man in Maryland, signed as a natural representative of the colonies. A lot of these guys, they just, wealth creates, it gives a high profile, public position. So the wealthier you are, it was maybe not so much today with our current president, 2019, right? This guy's very wealthy, but not maybe everyone's first pick. Now that the smoke is cleared and we see the ongoing chaos, we wonder if this wealthy man is qualified to be president. Yeah, he's done a few good highlight things. He's been very good to the incarcerated, I will say, and I'm impressed by that. But some other things are questionable. We'll let Congress deal with those. I'm no expert on that. I didn't even vote. Okay, so I won't even talk too much about it. There, dodge that bullet. Oh, next guy up. Okay, now this is the guy I was very interested in. We were finding little gems we're pulling out of the historical dirt here. And this gentleman, George Taylor, representative of Pennsylvania, came over from Ireland, indentured servant. That's how he got his passage and his way to immigrate to the colonies. His father was a pastor, reverend in the Presbyterian church, but didn't have the funds to bring his son, so his son becomes an indentured servant. The indentured servant industry, very important for the colonies up until they saw that free black labor being imported in, mainly from England's that English institution. But it was after the break with the Revolutionary War, the colonies took slavery and put it on steroids and really showed how to abuse, marginalize, and disenfranchise a people just based on their skin color. But George Taylor, indentured servant, he rose up in the ranks. His master died, and George actually married his master's wife back then. George was born 1716, died 1781. But in this, in his initial, early life, this master was an ironworks person, so George went to the ironworks, but it was found that George was literate, could handle papers and things like that, so George became the bookkeeper for this ironworks owner, and rose up the ranks. Now, when the owner died, George stepped in and took over the business until the master's biological son grew old enough to take care of the business. In the meantime, George rose up, did his best, secured his position, finances and whatnot. He ain't stupid. I do the same thing now that I'm working on my financial literacy. So he rose up. Now this is Bucks County, Pennsylvania, north of Philadelphia, where a lot of this is going on, the ironworks and all that. He read the brief notes here in the description of the video that I elaborate more on the ironworks. Now this Pennsylvania ironworks was the first ironworks in the state to supply cannonball to the Continental Army as the war was gearing up. Presbyterian, the business kept him busy. He had a large estate, but I didn't find any evidence that he had slaves. May have, I don't know. I sense as an indentured servant, I'm guessing, the Wikipedia didn't bring out the sense that he was the type to turn around personally in his personal close life and oppress a people in a way that he once lived. We know nationally that this group, whatever way they're oriented, the group separated from England and did 180-degree turn and enslaved a whole bunch of other people in the process. But I don't get this from George's Representative Taylor's the way his life went. Something says no, not a big guy to take slaves. He's going to pay for whatever labor's going on. And he signed as interesting. He was one of the guys to replace 5 loyalists at the Second Continental Congress. Find guys, as we do this study, vacillating, not sure what they want to do. Loyalists, patriot, whatever. I'm on the fence. Well, those men, by the time the Second Continental Congress rolled around, you're obviously going to be in a room where the expectation is you're going to be with what's going on when in Rome, or you're going to get your ass out. So he replaced one of 5 men who are loyal to England, who wanted to keep the peace. And the loyalists were probably people who benefited most by maintaining a relationship with England, whereas the patriots, I'm guessing, were men who felt some of that disenfranchisement from the taxation laws coming out of England at the time and such. Now, you ain't going to find much of that sentiment from people who benefit from the government, no matter where it is on the planet. If I go to a nation, but I'm still feeling secure, cradled in the bosom of America, I've got my citizenship and things like that, I'm going to be hard pressed to break away from my loyalties, even whatever issues I got with my homeland. Wherever I can go in the world, I'm still benefiting as an American citizen. It's the same thing the loyalists were doing, I'm guessing, as their allegiance to England prevailed. And the Patriots told them to hit the door. Get out if you're not going to, because we're going this direction. And it's going to be unanimous decision here. No dissension. Get on board. Matter of fact, in Wikipedia it says one of George Taylor's first tasks after they ushered those 5 guys out was to sign the Declaration of Independence. Oh, so there it is. Interesting news. We're seeing some not reconciliation, or resolution to some tragedies here in America. We see, every color and race has its crime, its bizarre crime, and things like that. But I don't know. To me, like I don't see the motivation for white people to be doing killings. White people are under so much privilege, in my view, and I've always seen them as so stable and privileged and all that. But some very grievous things, my thought of them being so stable and situated in the world, yet killing their babies, their wives, things like that. Black folks do it too. You've got plenty of examples as well. But I can see, okay, maybe there's some economic pressure there, some mental issue of a lifetime of navigating the American landscape. I kind of don't see it from a people, in my view, who get along in America. It's amazing. Write me about it. Comment about it. I'm Tomlin's Nyback. That's day 115 out of the way. Come back again. We're almost wrapped up with these signers. We've hit a few nice little tidbits and gems here, and these men that took a big risk to put their names on that document. Come back and see me tomorrow. We'll see what's going on. Thank you.